February is almost upon us now, and the release cadence for both Xbox and Xbox Game Pass is about to ramp up quite significantly. Not only are we expecting some mammoth releases like Resident Evil Requiem, but we are also getting some very interesting AA and indie titles that could take the gaming space by storm. With that though, my name is Fletcher, and welcome back to Xbox Nation, and let's dive right into the top 15 Xbox and Game Pass games heading our way this February. We do actually start the month off pretty strong with Indika, and this is one that I've actually seen quite a few times now and is meant to be insanely good and very unique. A fact that we received a rather unique concept and story that we don't get anymore is pretty fantastic, and I cannot wait to finally try it out for myself. It is said to be a third-person story-driven game set in a strange world where religious visions clash with harsh reality. It then tells the story of a young nun who sets off on a journey of self-discovery with the most unusual horn-headed companion by her side. Apparently, the cinematography for this one is still the strongest part of the overall package, with some outstanding camera work, beautifully composed shots, and a great use of lighting and environmental design. This one was also published by 11-Bit Studios, who are the same team behind the likes of Frostpunk and The Alters, and they have a very strong pedigree these days for choosing some great games. If you are interested, this one now drops onto Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and Premium on the 2nd of February. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined drops on the 5th, and yes, this one is a remake of the 2000s Dragon Quest VII Fragments of the Forgotten Past. Both returning fans and new players will finally get to experience a standalone epic single-player RPG adventure to save the world that has now been lovingly reimagined with a handcrafted sort of aesthetic to it that makes the game feel like a living storybook. I've actually never played this entry before, so I will definitely be diving in for sure, as I've actually been getting way more into Dragon Quest over the past couple of years. Apparently, there will be a host of quality of life improvements that have been implemented into the game to make it a smoother experience, including a redesigned UI which will allow for easier access to different bits of information. I know that was certainly a gripe, but looking at the original reviews, still it looks pretty decent across the board, and JRPG lovers will no doubt be clamoring for this one when it lands in the next couple of weeks. I absolutely love a good turn-based strategy game, and when I was made aware of Menace, thanks to an Xbox Game Pass news drop, it's immediately shot to my must-play list for this February. This is a turn-based tactical RPG that will put you in command of an elite strike force who must take out an alien threat. Basically, a distress call starts rolling in from different planets, and you'll get to decide which to respond to and then when to engage. On the ground, you'll be able to train your own troops and equip infantry. You'll then be able to deploy tanks and utilize hulking mechs to basically eliminate hostile aliens in turn-based battles. This game does kind of give me XCOM and Command & Conquer vibes to it, and I'm really looking forward to finally getting my hands on it. It is only slated for PC Game Pass and Xbox for PC at the time of this recording, which is certainly a shame, so hopefully we might get a console release somewhere down the line if it all goes well. After a long 10-year hiatus, Carmageddon is finally making a surprise comeback as a roguelike combat racer, and is arriving onto your Xbox consoles fairly soon. We have had some decent looks now at this reimagined take on the classic car combat series, but what was really interesting for me is it's introducing a roguelike element this time around. Essentially, you have to try and survive chaotic races with opponents attempting to destroy you, and each campaign will feature branching paths, increasing difficulties and changing weather conditions, and it kind of means that no two runs are ever going to be the same for you. If you do wreck your car, you'll then restart the campaign as a new driver with permanent upgrades, and they're all unlocked by collecting beat coins. Each of the game's 15 upgradable vehicles can also be equipped with loads of different weapons across 13 classes to annihilate your rivals, from machine guns to missiles. It looks blimmin' awesome, sounds incredibly fun, and is slated for release on the 7th of February. Get ready, horror fans, as Cristol Theatre of Idols is a gripping survival horror adventure that looks absolutely fantastic, and it's even one that I have on my own personal radar. I mean, you may know by now, I'm not a horror game fan, and I am a little bit of a wet wipe when it comes to scary stuff these days, but the gunplay and the enemy design looks totally insane. It is set in the haunting world of Hispania, and this is a nightmarish reimagining of Spain. You will then play as Gabriel, a soldier who can use his own blood as a deadly weapon, as you endeavour on a journey to fulfill a divine mission from the Sun God. The mechanics of blood being both your lifeline and your ammunition is just so blue and unique. You'll then need to use this newfound power against some terrifying enemies and then solve intricate puzzles, but beware, every shot will drain your life. I honestly cannot wait to see how it fares, especially when it gets in the hand of you guys, as it's such a unique concept, and I wish the devs the very best success for this month. We all know that Suda51 makes some really strange games, and Romeo is a Dead Man is set to be another one of those games, which is landing on the 11th of February. You will take control of the protagonist named Romeo Stargazer in this third-person single-player action-adventure title, and is split into various different chapters. His story is looking to be both unpredictable and littered with intense battles, and then interspersed with side missions to suit your own pace and your playstyle. I've actually had to keep an eye on the previews as I'm usually a fan of these Suda games. They are that unique and they're usually very well priced as well. Having a little bit of a deeper look at the previews though from different sites around, they have said the story itself isn't the main draw, so definitely don't go in with that, but the way that it's told instead in its exceedingly humorous and flashy style is definitely worth diving into. It's always kind of hard to explain what's going on with these sort of Suda games, but we'll have to find out in the next couple of weeks. Is the yearly tradition to receive another Ride game, and Ride 6 is due to be with us in mid-February. I've actually played both Ride 4 and 5 in the previous years, but I'm far from a giddy motorhead, especially when it comes to motorcycles. But then again, I do enjoy the packages that Milestone have been putting together each year, and I do prefer it to the MotoGP franchise. I had to do a little bit of research as I haven't really been keeping many tabs on this newest edition, but it's stated that Ride 6 is adding a new Ride Fest career mode, which looks to take some inspiration from the Forza Horizon games. It is cool as well, as we'll be able to choose from 10 real-world racers to compete in this festival, including the likes of Casey Stoner, Troy Bayliss and Guy Martin. They have also confirmed the game will have a larger roster consisting of 340 motorcycles, though some of those I will have no doubt will be part of the DLC packages. It does seem like a decent package out the gate though, but I'm keen to hear if you're impressed about this new entry in the comments below. Coming up next is a double hit for Yakuza fans, and honestly is quite a smart way to handle this series. Yakuza Kiwami 3 finally gives one of the franchise's most divisive entries a proper second chance. The remake will smooth out the original slower, block-heavy combat, pushing it closer to that sort of faster, more fluid feel of Kiwami 2, while still keeping the more grounded story intact. Then there's Yakuza Dark Ties, which is essentially a brand new standalone experience. This one dives into the criminal underworld Kiryu never actually touched before, introducing new characters, factions, and a noticeably grittier tone, alongside some fresh tactical twists on the classic brawling. Ryu Studio have definitely proven time and time again that they know how to modernize Yakuza without losing its soul. It's getting a refined classic and a new story in one package, and it's going to be a big win for you Yakuza fans, and they both finally launch on the 12th of February for the Xbox Series consoles. Disciples is also quietly stepping back into the spotlight this February with Disciples Domination, and it's a brand new entry from Calypso Media that I've been quite excited to see. This one is set 15 years after Liberation, but now moves the series forward without abandoning what longtime fans really did enjoy. The combat still remains with that turn-based aesthetic though, but it's now refined with a quicker pace and a grid-based battlefield and more emphasis on your positioning. There's also going to be stuff like faction traits and unit synergy, which should actually come into play quite nicely. Between battles though, you'll be exploring of course the world of Nevendar in real time, uncovering different bits of lore, side stories, and threats that aren't always obvious at first glance. You'll then lead your squads drawn from 5 different factions, including the return of the mountain clans, which is great to see. It does feel like a bit more of a careful evolution rather than a full invention, but if it's the right move, you can enjoy the tactical RPG, which should be absolutely fantastic when it lands on the 12th of February. Speaking of keeping things on your radar, I can see that over 68% of you are currently not subscribed, and I would just love you to join our incredible and fast-growing Xbox community. I really don't like doing these sort of shout-outs within videos, but the support would be massively appreciated, as I will be providing you with some great Xbox content on a daily basis, including a ton of exclusive stuff coming very, very soon. Thanks so much again, and let's just dive back into the remaining games coming our way for this February. To be honest, my personal highlight for the entire month of February just has to be Reanimal. This is one of my top games of 2026, and I just love the atmosphere, and it is coming from the same devs behind the Little Nightmares 1 and 2 games, but they've now formed a brand new studio. I do want to make you aware that this is a horror adventure game where a brother and sister go through hell to essentially rescue their missing friends and then escape from that island that they used to call home. It looks bloody incredible, and even the trailers have given me some chills with the glimpses that we saw of the horrid creatures that we could come to expect. It is meant to really harken back to what so many of us fans really loved about the original Little Nightmares, but then throws in some more grotesque beings and ultimately raising the uncomfortability meter. If you haven't played the demo on the Xbox Store, please check it out as soon as possible, and make sure to check out my review closer to its launch day. The largest Xbox Game Pass drop which we know of so far for February just has to be High on Life 2, and after the first game broke so many records in Xbox Game Pass, I have absolutely no doubt that the second entry will be hotly anticipated. Ultimately, it will be chucking us back into a universe of crazed aliens as they now take humans and place them in zoos instead of smoking them as drugs. We'll then be the bounty hunter of course from the first game, but this time with brand new characters and weapons at our disposal, but of course the humour will certainly be returning as well. Justin Roiland though did leave the company due to a bit of controversy controversy, but even without him at the helm, the project looks insane with the amount of additions, including skateboarding to amplify the movement and a larger scope in terms of weapons and the worlds. I've actually been watching the different previews over on IGN, and it looks like the exact package that I've been waiting for. It finally does land though on the 13th of February, and I guess that's going to be a pretty decent way for me to spend my Valentine's Day. Moving on, you may realise that stealth games really aren't as common as they used to be, but one series is actually staying true to that sneaky roots, and it's Styx Blades of Greed, and all the previews and gameplay shown that I've seen so far looks very, very promising. For those of you who are new to this franchise, or actually never even seen it before, you play as a sharp-tongued goblin named Styx, and you're a thief who's sneaking through massive environments filled with danger and some very dark humour. It is going to be set after their previous game, which was known as Shards of Darkness, but this prequel doesn't require your prior knowledge, which is nice to see, but longtime fans will definitely spot plenty of callbacks. It's going to be powered by Unreal Engine 5, so it does have me a little bit skeptical, but the devs have basically said it's brought a lot bigger levels, around 2.5 times larger than we've seen before, along with new powers and tools to master. Your ultimate goal within this new story though is to claim quartz, and this is a powerful resource fueling a world on the edge of war. It looks fantastic, and the gameplay shown so far does actually have me excited, as it does look rather polished, so I'm really intrigued to see how it fares on its final release. You may remember that Death Howl is already available via Xbox Game Pass, but it was a PC only title in 2025, which left many of us on Xbox unable to play what seems to be an incredibly well received product. Well, in some great news, Xbox users will finally be able to get their hands on this game on the 19th of February, and yes, it will be available still on Xbox Game Pass. I know many of you don't know what this game is, but essentially it's a very fun deck building, tile grid, card battler RPG, to put it simply. There are a ton of cards for you to create or discover that use lots of trinkets to customize as you build further. The story is certainly fine from what I've played, but is nothing revolutionary, but the devs absolutely nailed the Souls-like cadence. It's certainly a new take in the genre, but don't be put off by it though, as it's quite forgiving if you mess up, and is not as punishing as other Souls-likes out there. I believe the runtime is also about 35 hours-ish from what I've seen on the reviews over on Steam, so it's a great amount of content and a lot of quality for such a small indie team. It's one that you definitely need to put on your radar to check out for this month. I mentioned this next game a few videos back now, but if you remember, Soulslinger Envoy of Death is finally heading to Xbox on the 19th of February. This is a frantic first-person shooter with a roguelike structure, and it's actually been available over on PC since 2023. Naturally, it has kind of received a lot of updates since its initial launch as an early access title, and console players like me will finally be able to get that good stuff day one. It does look pretty decent from what I'm showing you on screen now, and I've had a look at some other footage from what people have played, and it does look right up my alley, as I do love these sort of quirky indie-like shooters. I know many of you mentioned before that it looks like a game called Witchcraft, I believe you said, but it is a totally different studio, and that is a pretty good comparison for such a small dev team. I have seen they've put a wealth of patches out recently as well over on Steam to combat the performance issues, and it does seem poised to have a pretty decent console launch. Again, I'm going to be reviewing this one, so do stay tuned if you want to hear more in the near future. It's not long now until Resident Evil Requiem is finally here, and I know many of you who tune into this channel are pretty hyped for this overall release. After years of waiting, we will once again get to experience the terrifying survival horror with FBI analyst Grace Ashcroft, and then dive into the pulse-pounding action with the legendary Leon Kennedy. Both of their journeys are looking to be pretty unique in terms of their gameplay styles, and they're all sort of intertwined into a heart-stopping emotional experience that looks to chill us to our core. It is going to be set 30 years after the destruction of Raccoon City though, and the story will actually centre on Grace Ashcroft overall. She is the daughter of Alyssa from Resident Evil Outbreak, and she'll be investigating the place that's tied to her mother's death. It's going to have a darker tone, a lot of unsettling villains, and Capcom has promised something even scarier than RE7, and the previews so far are certainly agreeing with that statement. It's going to be one of the biggest horror releases of the past 5 years, and the 27th just can't come soon enough. As I mentioned though, a couple of bonus games have also made their way into today's video, starting with the release of Final Fantasy II onto Xbox Game Pass as of the 3rd of February. There's not really much I need to say on this one, as it's basically the pixel remaster of the original, and that means sharper resolution, some overhauls in the gameplay, UI and visual quality updates, and it's set to be a pretty decent game. I know we actually got the first Final Fantasy on Xbox Game Pass in the first wave, and it does seem like a pretty decent addition, especially if you just wrapped up that first one. It is then also worth noting that a big overhaul and update is coming to Avowed on the 17th of Feb. This is bringing a ton of improvements and additions to the pretty middling Obsidian RPG, but it will include the likes of a new Game Plus mode, which has been sorely missing, the ability to choose your race or character, like dwarves, lizards, and more, and then some fixes to the quest design and a whole lot more. It does seem pretty decent, but do expect a video covering the update when it does drop, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Whilst down there though, do like this video if you did enjoy it, and make sure to check out the video on the screen now if you want to check out the Xbox and Game Pass games coming our way in this final week of January, and to really see if any of them are worth your time and or money.